If you surrendered to the air, you could write it. As you enter positions of trust and power, dream a little before you think. If there's a book you really want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Make a difference about something other than yourselves. All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back to where it was. When there is pain, there are no words. All pain is the same. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. We die. That may be the meaning of life. But we do language. That may be the measure of our lives. You need a whole community to raise a child. I have raised 2 children, alone. I get angry about things, then go on and work. Somebody has to take responsibility for being a leader. If there is a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, you must be the one to write it. The body is ready to have babies. Nature wants it done then, when the body can handle it, not after 40, when the income can handle it. There is really nothing more to say, except why. But since why is difficult to handle, one must take refuge in how. I wrote my first novel because I wanted to read it. In this country, American means white. Everybody else has to hyphenate. If you're going to hold someone down, you're going to have to hold on by the other end of the chain. You are confined by your own repression. Some Native American writers enjoy being called Native American writers. Black literature is taught as sociology, as tolerance, not as a serious, rigorous art form. Black people have always been used as a buffer in this country between powers to prevent class war. My children are delightful people, whom I would love even if they weren't my children. I would solve a lot of literary problems just thinking about a character in the subway, where you can't do anything anyway. Everywhere, children are the scorned people of the earth. Everything I've ever done, in the writing world, has been to expand articulation, rather than to close it. Black people are victims of an enormous amount of violence. None of those things can take place without the complicity of the people who run the schools and the city. The unflattering reviews are painful for short periods of time. The badly written ones are deeply, deeply insulting. That reviewer took no time to really read the book. Schools must stop being holding pens to keep energetic young people off the job market and off the streets. We stretch puberty out a long, long time. It's been mentioned or suggested that paradise will not be well studied, because it's about this unimportant intellectual topic, which is religion. For a long time I was convinced that the conflict between Jewish people and Black people in this country was a media event. I don't think anybody cares about unwed mothers unless they're Black or poor. The question is not morality, the question is money. That's what we're upset about. Women's rights is not only an abstraction, a cause, it is also a personal affair. It is not only about us, it is also about me and you. Just the two of us. If you're going to hold someone down, you're going to have to hold on by the other end of the chain. You are confined by your own repression. If you're going to hold someone down, you're going to have to hold on by the other end of the chain. You are confined by your own repression. The ability of writers to imagine what is not the self, to familiarize the strange and mystify the familiar, is the test of their power. A lot of Black people believe that Jews in this country have become white. They behave like white people rather than Jewish people. She is a friend of mine. She gather me, man. The pieces I am, she gather them and give them back to me in all the right order. It's good, you know, when you got a woman who is a friend of your mind. I always looked upon the acts of racist exclusion, or insult, as pitiable, from the other person. I never absorbed that. I always thought that there was something deficient about such people. Everybody gets everything handed to them. The rich inherit it. I don't mean just inheritance of money. I mean what people take for granted among the middle and upper classes, which is nepotism, the old boy network. No one ever talks about the moment you found that you were white. Or the moment you found out you were black. That's a profound revelation. The minute you find that out, something happens. You have to renegotiate everything. I merged those two words, black and feminist, because I was surrounded by black women who were very tough and who always assumed they had to work and rear children and manage homes. One of my kids was born in 1968. There were going to be political difficulties, but they were never going to have that level of hatred and contempt that my brothers and my sister and myself were exposed to. In becoming an American, from Europe, what one has in common with that other immigrant is contempt. For me, it's nothing else but color. Nelson Mandela is, for me, the single statesman in the world. The single statesman, in that literal sense, who is not solving all his problems with guns. It's truly unbelievable. Schools must stop being holding pens to keep energetic young people off the job market and off the streets. We stretch puberty out a long, long time. The unflattering reviews are painful for short periods of time, the badly written ones are deeply, deeply insulting. That reviewer took no time to really read the book. She is a friend of mine. She gather me, man. The pieces I am, she gather them and give them back to me in all the right order. It's good, you know, when you got a woman who is a friend of your mind. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. You wanna fly, you got to give up the shit that weighs you down. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. At some point in life the world's beauty becomes enough. You don't need to photograph, paint, or even remember it. It is enough. Sweet, crazy conversations full of half-sentences, daydreams and misunderstandings more thrilling than understanding could ever be. Don't ever think I fell for you, or fell over you. I didn't fall in love, I rose in it. And I am all the things I have ever loved, Scuppernong wine, cool baptisms in silent water, dream books and number playing. Lonely, ain't it? Yes, but my lonely is mine. Now your lonely is somebody else's. Made by somebody else and handed to you. Ain't that something? A second-hand lonely. The function of freedom is to free someone else. Me and you, we got more yesterday than anybody. We need some kind of tomorrow.